Welcome back to the Bronx Journal. I'm your guest host, Jalissa Quinones. He teaches directing, acting, and voice classes. He also produces off-Broadway shows, and now he runs the theater program at Lehman College. With us now is Professor David Sullivan. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So tell us about your role as a director here at Lehman College.
Well, as the director of the theater program, I started this past September, and my role is to come together with the rest of the faculty in the program and to do some strategic planning for the growth of the department.
So tell us about the process of producing and directing the plays.
So my background has been as an actor, a director, and a producer. And I started in New York City in 2004, directing and self-producing plays downtown in Midtown of mostly Irish theater and small 100-seat off-Broadway houses.
So I know you came from Rowan University and you were the chair at the department over there. How was it? Like, how's the difference from Jersey and New York City here?
Well, the difference would be the students are great at both institutions. The one thing that Lehman has that's different is it really is a city university, and being in New York City, which is the theater capital of the world, for a theater program and for someone directing a theater program, this is the place where students have the greatest opportunity to be working with professional theater artists all the time, and for us to really build a program that uses the resources of New York City. So there are a lot of opportunities here that I wasn't able to take advantage of as much in New Jersey. I
know you also recently directed your first play here, A Midsummer Night's Dream by William Shakespeare. How was that experience?
That was a great experience.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite plays, and the students here at Lehman did a terrific job. It's a play that is fun and funny to do, and it allows the students to work together on a challenging piece of language within in the piece, but also to work as a team because it's an ensemble type of acting in the play, and the Lehman students were as good as any.
Tell us a little bit about the process of putting together the play.
Okay, so at the beginning of the semester, we make an announcement for auditions for theater majors and non-majors, anyone in the Lehman community, and we even had some alumni and members of the community come out to audition for the show. And then we cast it and rehearsed 3 to 4 nights a week for about 6 to 8 weeks, and in the end, we put on a weekend of performances, about 6 performances, including a high school matinee for students from the Bronx.
So what about the program? How big is it? How many students?
The program between the theater and dance program together probably have about 60 majors currently. Okay. The theater program currently has about 35, and we're looking to grow that over the next few years.
So what would you say inspired you to become a theater professor?
Well, I think when I was a student, I watched the type of job that my theater professors had, and I knew that I wanted to be a professional artist, but that there was something about teaching and collaborating with young people and professionals that I found fascinating. And myself, I'm drawn to being a director, which is really to help actors to realize their art on stage. And for me, in the classroom, it's something very similar, where I'm actually trying to help students to realize their potential in the classroom. So to me, teaching and directing are very similar, integrated pieces. And what I found is that students who really are want to learn and are enthusiastic and love theater as much as I do, it's the best job in the world.
So who participates in your plays?
Most of the students, are theater majors who are interested in it, but we have a lot of students who are theater minors or just interested students who are undeclared majors or business, psychology, nursing, majors who still love theater, have done some in their past, and don't want to give that part up. But I think part of a good college education is to be well-rounded, and especially in New York, to be appreciative and involved in the arts. So that's what we allow for some of our students.
So you mentioned that they have to audition. So as well, do outsiders are able to audition as well, or just students?
Outsiders are definitely encouraged and invited to audition. The schedule that we have for our plays tend to be challenging. It's sometimes 3, 4, 5 nights a week. So often it's a serious student
so you have to be committed for the
who
time.
wants to be committed.
Okay.
And since we're an educational institution, my first priority would be towards the students who are declared to be a student of theater. But for many roles, for example, in MIDSUMMER, there's a a father figure in the play. So we had an alumnus from the 1970s who wanted to do the play and auditioned as well as the students.
So I know you've also directed in Italy. How was it being able to direct internationally as well?
Well, that was exciting. That was a project that came together through connections that I had with an Italian stone sculptor. And we put it on outdoors in the square on the top of this little mountain town near Carrara, Italy. And the entire town of about 300 people came down into the square to watch this performance. And it was exciting, and made a few connections, and I might be back this coming summer too.
Interesting. So how is it different from directing here in New York City?
Well,
Italy.
The actors that I had in Italy, you know, are performers, but were not professional full-time actors the way that they would be in New York City. They each had different jobs as artisans and salesmen, but who also do theater. So there was something that I did in about a week of rehearsals. It was a short play that we did in a week of rehearsals and put it on that weekend as an experiment for me to work with actors of a different culture, you know, than New York City. But the idea and that they're interested in is taking some of their work from Italy and bringing it here to New York City.
So I know you've also produced off-Broadway shows. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Sure. Well, as a new young director to New York City in 2003, I found the best way in order to break into the theater community is to produce and direct a showcase. It's one thing that I tell all the students, that you don't wait for someone to just give you permission to do the thing that you love, that you find an opportunity to make it happen for yourself. So I got together with other graduate students from Boston University, where I went to graduate school, and we all banded together and created a production downtown, which led to 2 more productions off Broadway, and got some notice from the New York Times, and allowed us to raise money and to support a playwright that I had known in graduate school, and we put on 2 of his plays in 2005 and 2006.
So far, which play would you say you enjoy the most out of all the ones you've directed?
The one, it's usually the play that I'm directing at the time, because it's so intensive when you're working on it, and it's really important for anyone to really work on the things that you love. Doing MIDSUMMER recently has reminded me why that play is one of my favorites, and has rekindled the love that I have for Shakespearean performance, and I have to say at this moment, MIDSUMMER would be the one.
Really?
Yeah.
So which one would you consider the hardest?
That's a good question too. The hardest would be, sometimes as a young director, you take projects for new plays, and those often can be the most challenging, although often the most rewarding. I worked on a play in which, over a course of about 4 weeks, we rewrote the play 3 times. The playwright did, with suggestions from the work that I was doing with the actors on the script. So the most challenging tend to be new plays that have never been performed before, but there's also an excitement to that as well.
So have you had any students that actually make it to Broadway?
To Broadway, some students who have come to New York and have gotten their equity union card and begun to do that process, and are working actors. There are a few students who have gone on to do that. But there's also, beyond just acting, there are students who are working in theater administration, who work behind the scenes in technical theater, who go on to get professional jobs. And that's the thing that most students of the theater come to realize, is that there's more than just performance, and that there's an entire industry for them to have a career and a life within the performing arts.
So what are your main interests, like drama, new play development, your main interests?
Mostly would be new play development and Shakespeare. Those have been the 2 areas that I've found myself gravitating more towards. And in New York City, I've done mostly Irish plays.
Okay. So what would you consider your biggest accomplishment?
Well, I guess, being in New York City as a professional artist and as a professor of theater, and being here at Lehman is one of my biggest accomplishments, that I'm able to be in a city where I can do my professional work as a director and producer, but also teach in the same city where I'm doing my work as a theater artist.
So do you currently have any future plans on board?
Well, it always takes a little while to get the next project going. I have a few projects. One is a play that I directed last year that might be remounted this coming summer, a project perhaps in Italy, and then another Irish play in the fall.
What advice would you give to students that would like to also go out there and produce off-Broadway shows?
Well, I think one of the best resources that we have in New York are all of the professional theaters that are here. And one thing that the theater program encourages all our students to do is to do internships and to start to build connections for the rest of their careers while they're a Lehman student. And also the Theater Development Fund and CUNY together are funding paid internships for students who apply for them throughout the year. So there are a lot of opportunities for students to learn the business behind the theater industry while they're students at Lehman. And by doing that, they'll learn how to produce, how the actual how the financial side, the contracts, the marketing, the development of theater happens on a professional level.
All right, so how can people get in hold of the theater program?
The theater program is in the Speech Theater building on campus. Okay. They can email me at david.sullivan@lehman.cuny.edu. And we have a new website for the theater and dance programs, and that's www.lehmantheaterdance.org.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show.